What are you doing with your summer?
Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Conan. Tonight's topic is Duty on Our Country, the West Point Experience. And joining me still is Colonel Dennis Acop. He is the president of the West Point Society of the Philippines. Colonel, welcome back to the third and final segment.
Yep.
Nice video, very rara, very exciting. It said that that female cadet said, "What are your summers like?" So, Colonel, were your summers like that? As fun as that?
When we were there?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much the same,
Wow.
except that I just saw some weaponry that probably wasn't around during our time. But basically, yeah, some things never changed. A lot of the traditions I saw are really maintained at West Point, and that's what I admire. And it's awesome, you know, that they're able to maintain all the tradition through the years.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically the same. Even East Barras, Camp Buckner. This train. One thing that the cadets really get to benefit from is real, actual training with the real U.S. Army. So during the summers, that's when they leave the portals of the academy, leave the classrooms behind, go to the field, train with the real U.S. Army. They are trained by the different branches, whether it's infantry or field artillery, armor, you name it. And
They're rotated. I mean, among these branches. I mean,
they're exposed to
all.
They do not necessarily go to the home branches of all of these branches because they're spread out across the different
Yes.
states of the U.S. But they get to go to some selected homes, like during our time, at least Fort Knox in Kentucky. But a lot of the times, it can be done even at the military reservation in New York. And so representatives from the different army branches would be there. Maybe, you know, reps from, let's say, infantry, armor, and they teach the cadets. Let them do actual experience with different weaponry that they have, do fire artillery rounds, drive tanks, you know,
Wow.
ride in helicopters.
Well,
do
that's every
rappelling.
boy's dream.
The real stuff.
That's
yeah.
every boy's dream. What was it like? I mean, as a young person in West Point to be doing all this. I mean, wow, this is something that you dream about.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for more. Especially if you really love the stuff, you know, not just forced into it. But yeah, it's and even for a lot of the women now who attend West Point, and they get to do a lot of the things that there was a time when only men were allowed to do it, but now, you know, it's open.
Were there women during your time, Colonel?
Yes. And we had the same standard. Well, slightly different standard depending on your height, weight, and all that. But basically, the activities are the same.
Yes.
We did the activities together. We're all spread out across the Corps. So they try to spread out. Even if the women were fewer during my time, and probably even now, they see to it that they're spread out across the cadet corps.
Yes.
And they do things with their male counterparts.
Yes. I think, you know, Colonel, what makes the West Point education so amazing really is that the amount of resources available and opportunities
Yes.
for cadets
Yes,
to
yes.
learn not just military
Yes.
tactics and military science, but other things. No?
Right.
Like, what else is available? Because, you know, I want to dispel this notion that West Point or a military academy like this is just about the army, just about being a soldier. It's not. I mean, there is a wide range of other things that people do learn there.
Right. There are a lot of, that's one thing good also about West Point. There are a lot of opportunities for the young people to spend their time in even when I was a cadet, I'm not sure if I totally knew all about all of the available activities uh, right there for us, because I learned about some of them when after I left West Point, you know. But certainly you can become a member of almost any extracurricular activity, from a spiritual organization to a
Amateur
sport
radio,
to
rocket club, whatever. I mean,
orienteering,
really, yeah.
music club, whatever you name it. It seemed like West
Wow.
Point has it.
Wow.
And I think I would like to mention, Buddy, that in talking about resources, not all of those resources that go into those activities come from the American taxpayer. A lot of additional funding also comes from the Association of Graduates, alumni donating large sums to West Point in order to fund these activities that are probably extra over and above the core activities that are made possible by taxpayers' money.
Interesting. Good thing you brought it up. Let's talk about the AOG, Association of Graduates. I mean, I assume that you must have a pretty formidable roster of graduates. I mean, just mentioning titans of industry and government and politics and stuff like that. I mean, this must be a very extensive and considerable network, no, that West Point has established.
It is. It is. The AOG itself is like is a corporation. It's organized, and there are actually and many of the alumni get to work for the AOG as professional managers and corporate leaders, and so they manage the day-to-day affairs of all of the things that go into sustaining the West Point experience. You know, the thing that I mentioned about, for example, harnessing resources made available by successful alumni, and many of them are successful captains of industry. Because many of the West Pointers get advanced education. Many of them have graduate business degrees, PhDs, whatever, and so they use these not only in government, but also when they leave, they become CEOs, presidents of the different organizations, and they are able to donate resources if asked by AOG.
What is it about West Pointers? Because, you know, West Pointers have excelled in almost every field, no? My question is, what is it about the Point that produces such, I'll say, such winners? I mean, you know, it really is like a breeding ground for success.
Well,
what is it about it? I mean, of course,
you'll probably say that it's self-serving on my part to describe it. But of course, and I am we alumni are living examples of it. I would say that, you know, West Point is really one of the Ivy League institutions, not only in the U.S. but globally, in terms of the quality of education and training, and leadership training for leadership management for any young person. It's really there's a lot of bonuses that go into attending West Point that prepare you not just for a future as a military officer, but even as a civilian leader and manager.
What would you say would be the most valuable lessons that you've learned personally from West Point?
I think the motto, duty, honor, country, you know, succinctly and appropriately says it all. Duty. I think one of the traits that we learn from West Point is that wherever we go after we graduate, we leave the portals of the academy, there's that sense of duty that is developed within you, right inside your core, whether you continue as an army officer or as a corporate leader, you know, that sense of duty that you just have to do it because someone has to do it, and if it falls on your part to do it, then you do it, even if it's as complex a task as being a CEO or just being a husband or a father of a family. Honor, there's that universal standard of trying to do it because it's right.
Yes.
There's that
integrity.
sense of integrity.
Yeah.
Again, whether formally or informally, you know, when I think I would like to believe that when West Pointers are put in a situation wherein those deep-seated values are challenged, then it should be clear which option or decision they take. It could be detrimental to one's career or ambition, but sometimes that's a price that I think many West Pointers have paid.
Yes,
if you look at their history. Country, a lot of West Point alumni anywhere have certainly served their country. I would like to believe that well, more than others, you know.
And I guess even after you leave the military or public service, even in your own private capacity, you still have that that longing, that desire to
Certainly.
to serve the country. no?
Certainly. You know, buddy,
Yeah.
when I was there was a time when I was the secretary of the association, and we were doing this research about the West Point or U.S. Filipino Memorial they put up at PMA, and so I had a chance to research what the early or the West Point alumni have done. And I felt really proud, you know, when especially the stories of the early Filipino West Pointers before those who did things, especially in World War I and especially the Second World War. We may probably not be too aware, but many of them actually were fought and died during that war, were incarcerated, many of them tortured before they were killed.
Really?
At least 7 were killed during that
Yes,
war.
yes.
I think around 10 were
Wow.
captured by the enemy
Okay.
and abused. And many even the detailed accounts were inspiring when I was researching it, you know, because I think some alumni like Martili, like General Segundo.
Yes.
You know how he was
Yes, how
he was
he
captured.
escaped.
He was
And,
actually tortured
yes.
because they were, you know, trying to get beat information out of him.
He was on the death march, I think. No, in the death march. Was he part of the death march?
He was killed, but
Yeah.
but there were others also who became part of the
Yeah.
death march, and so yeah, just to point out the kind of service that, you know, and of course the American alumni who served their countries during the American Civil War, First World War, Second World War.
I wish that you could put all of this in the book. Is there a
There's
West
a lot.
Point? Is there a West Point Society of Philippines book, coffee table book? Has there been one already made, or to just tell all these stories?
Not yet, not yet. Probably.
Okay. Well, talking about books, we have a big book in front of us,
Yeah.
Colonel. This is the Howitzer. This is your. Maybe you can hold it up and show us
Yeah.
what Cadet Dennis Dennis Acop's photo. Cadet Dennis Acop's photo. Yes.
Yeah, this is the Howitzer yearbook. Each West Point grad has one of these yearbooks, and it basically, you know, just like any other yearbook, it has you know, the history of the guys who graduated. Our photos are here arranged
Okay.
alphabetically, and here,
all
for
right,
example,
okay.
we have here.
So can we focus on that? This is the young Cadet Dennis Acop, and
Yeah.
and you have a yes.
And as you can see, I had a lot of hair back then. As the Americans would say, Cadet Dencio Acop was my name.
Dencio Acop. So when you came back to the Philippines, you had to reorient yourself to hearing Acop again, because after 4 years of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
saying Acop.
I don't know, for some reason, they really had a difficult time pronouncing so I was Cadet Acop for 4 years. So when I came home, all of a sudden, I was back to the normal one, Lieutenant Acop.
Colonel, quickly before we go, plans and programs perhaps for the West Point Society of Philippines, or major events coming up that we can look
Yeah.
forward to in your club, in your association's roster.
Yeah, each year the West Point Society hosts two major affairs. Of course, the Founders Day in March, and then the Army-Navy reunion with the alumni of the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis. But we also welcome the other Filipino alumni of the other U.S. Service Academies, whether from Air Force or Coast Guard, and even Merchant Marine. You know, so those are two basic events that we have each year. We rotate with Annapolis grads in hosting these events. We have it's becoming a annual event also, the regional West Point U.S. Service Academy's Asia Summit. And it was done last year in Singapore, and we had it again this year, again, same time, June last year. You didn't go?
No, I mean, but hopefully next year it'd be nice to attend and get to know all these West Pointers. You know, as I said, you know, impressive roster of graduates and incredible place to do networking
Yeah,
with
but
such a dynamic people.
right, and of course in between we have the West Point Society hosts a lot of informal gatherings whenever a West Point graduate visits the Philippines, so we have a lot of those informal ones. Of course, we attend to the some social events impacting West Point graduates.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Colonel, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. It's very fast when you talk about a topic like this. There's so many things I want to ask you still, but perhaps in the future when we celebrate the Army's win over the Navy, then we will have you again on the show. We can talk about West Point society and other things and the other stuff we failed to cover.
Right. When Army wins, we should meet again. And,
Definitely. Go Army, beat Navy. Okay. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the talk tonight about West Point. Join us again next week on the show where we talk about what matters to you guys because you guys matter the most. I'll see you next week. I said go Army, beat Navy.